Humans have been fascinated with animation for a very, very long time. Some of the earliest cave paintings we even know about, from over 15,000 years ago, show animals with multiple limbs, which seem to be arranged to indicate their movement. Another ancient example of animation comes from an Iranian bowl dating to around 3178 BCE, with images of a goat eating some bushes on the side. When the bowl is spun, it looks like the goat is moving. To understand early animation, we need to start with early motion pictures. The first image projection technology dates back to around the 1600s. Called the magic lantern, it used mirrors and images moved in front of a light source in order to project those images onto a surface. As the technology spread, performances developed around these magic lantern shows, often featuring ghost stories told by the narrator and spooky projected images. Projection technology developed further, with later devices used to make moving light shows. Some magic lanterns could rapidly move through multiple sequential images to create the illusion of motion. During the 1800s, devices that simulated moving images became a popular way to study the science of vision and to sell novelty toys. The phenakistoscope, or phenakistoscope, invented by Joseph Plateau in 1832, and its successor, William Horner's 1834 zoetrope, both used a series of static images and the rotation of a slotted disc or cylinder to trick the viewer's eyes into seeing moving images. The phenakistoscope was handheld, consisting of two discs, one slotted and one painted, and required a mirror, but the zoetrope, a large cylindrical slotted drum with a band of images inside, could be viewed by more than one person at a time. Both devices created the illusion of a continuous loop of movement. The camera had been invented way back in 1816, but the photographic base that the images appeared on inside the camera was made of fragile and flexible materials like glass. Celluloid film stock, invented by Hannibal Goodwin in 1887 and commercialized by George Eastman in 1889, was made out of thin, transparent, flexible plastic, and was very durable, traits that were necessary in the development of motion pictures. Edouard Muybridge and Etienne Jules Murray, apologies for my French, were among the first to use series photography to study locomotion. Muybridge used a series of cameras to photograph a horse galloping in 1877. When the photos were cycled in front of a magic lantern-style projector, they appeared to create a moving image. Etienne Jules Murray invented the chronophotographic gun in 1882, a camera device that took 12 photographs over a single second. Those photographs could also be projected to create a moving image. The principles of series photography informed the first motion picture projectors. In 1877, Émile Reynaud invented the praxinoscope, which worked like a fusion between a zoetrope and a magic lantern, a round rotating drum with angled mirrors instead of slots, where images were painted on gelatin squares set in leather bands, which moved through the drum on spools and could be projected for an audience. The praxinoscope was the basis of Reynaud's Theatre Optique, used to present his pantomime Luminesces in 1892, the first animated projection show seen by an audience. Reynaud's idea to use long strips of images moved through a projecting device on spools was also put in use in the first motion picture camera and projector. Invented in 1890 by William Kennedy Laurie Dixon, the first motion picture camera used principles of Murray and Muybridge series photography and the recent development of celluloid film to move celluloid strips synchronized to a camera shutter. Calling his device the kinetoscope, Thomas Edison developed it further into the kinetograph, a viewing device that could only be used by a single person. By 1837, kinetographs were commercially available and being installed in public spaces across America and Europe. It was up to Auguste and Louis Lumière to create a device that could project motion pictures for an audience. The cinematograph, seen by the public for the first time in 1895, was a lighter, more portable version of the kinetograph and used a hand cranking mechanism. While kinetograph films were limited to studios due to the size of the device, the cinematograph could be taken outside and often filmed outdoor scenes of everyday life or news stories. One of the first ever animators was Arthur Melbourne Cooper, who started his career in stop-motion animation in 1899, with films that usually lasted 2 minutes or less. By 1911, he had opened his own studio and produced stop-motion films that reached almost 7 minutes of runtime. Another stop-motion animator and film director, Georges Méliès, changed the genre of film. His most famous film was The Voyage dans la Lune, or A Trip to the Moon, released in 1902, an adaptation of a science fiction novel by Jules Verne. 14 minutes long, Méliès' film established fictional, story-driven films as a mainstay in cinema, in part because Méliès was one of the first in the film industry to edit scenes shot at multiple locations or times together to create a story, rather than filming the entire sequence in one place. Méliès made trick films, novelty films with special effects, similar to illusionist shows. Trick films used stop-motion animation. They were made by stopping the camera in the action to change objects in the scene, moving, adding, or transforming them, and then resuming filming. In the early days of film, animation was usually used in live-action films for special effects, and usually consisted entirely of stop-motion animation. Stop-motion animation also benefited from William Harbutt's invention of plasticine, a modeling clay that remained workable for a long time after use, in the 1890s. The first stop-motion films that used clay models were released in 1908 and portrayed sculptures that seemed to sculpt themselves. Drawn animation films, where each frame of the film was illustrated by hand rather than photographed or filmed, developed in the early 20th century. The first appeared in 1908, called Phantasmagorie, by the artist Emile Cole. In the 1910s, drawn animation became a more prominent medium. Artist Winsor McCay created character animations and short films framed by live-action sequences, as seen in his film Little Nemo or Gertie the Dinosaur, released in 1911 and 1914 respectively. The time and effort it took to draw each individual frame limited the length and structure of animated movies, but innovations like cell animation and the rotoscope reduced the labor required. Cell animation was developed by Earl Hurd in the mid-1910s. The technique used clear plastic celluloid sheets layered over each other. This way, only moving elements had to be redrawn, and backgrounds could be painted once and reused. Similarly, rotoscoping also reduced the time needed to produce a single frame. The rotoscope, patented by animator and inventor Max Fleischer in 1915, allowed artists to trace over frames of live-action film, which required less effort on the part of the artist and did a distinct fluidity of movement that became the hallmark of rotoscoped animation. The first examples come from Fleischer, who traced over footage of his brother to create the character Coco the Clown, a recurring star of the 1919 series by the Fleischer brothers, Out of the Inkwell. The early motion pictures shown with devices like the kinetoscope and the cinematograph often had musical accompaniment or sound effects played through a separate device. Sometimes live orchestras or narrators would perform alongside films. A major goal of the film industry was to create a way to record and project synchronized sound and video, and one of the first to do so was Lee DeForest, who called his invention DeForest Phonophone. Synchronized sound was quickly adopted by the film industry, with similar systems developed, like the Power Cinephone, Vitaphone, and RCA Photophone synchronization, and by 1928, moving pictures almost always had sound.